All right. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. There are 10 bazillion things that you could be doing this morning, but you chose to be here, so thank you. I have known for a couple of months, many weeks, that I was going to be presenting this morning. And it wasn't until a trip that I took to be with my family last week. It was after that trip, I knew exactly what I was going to be talking about. So perhaps this will help you better navigate what's coming up over the next few weeks. It shouldn't come as any surprise that the holidays are here, but nonetheless, we are sometimes still caught off guard, especially when it comes to our feelings and our emotions. The daylight hours are much shorter. Our to-do lists are a whole lot longer. We're excited to be with the people, but ruh-roh, so-and-so might be there. We are so very filled with gratitude, definitely. But then all of a sudden we'll get stuck by grief, missing someone that might not be around the table this year, or maybe they haven't been around the table for many years and you still miss them. We feel so deeply connected to the people and to the season and to God. And then all of a sudden, we just have this feeling of being completely alone and isolated and sad, and nobody is there and God is not hearing us. Then there are those moments where we can sit back with our feet up, cozied under a blankie with a hot cup of tea, and in a split second, be feeling that there's more to life than what we are currently experiencing. And I mean, absolutely no disrespect here, none. But we can become completely bipolar during the holidays. We can be at one end of the spectrum in 1 minute and be at the opposite end in no time at all. What a strange thing the human mind is. So, do you have an all or nothing attitude? Things are going to be great or they're going to be bad. It's going to be off the charts fulfilling or extremely disappointing. The good thing about attitudes is that you have the ability to change the thinking that will change the attitude. Your circumstances might not change, but your attitude sure can. Do you feel like things need to be perfect? Oh boy, that's me. I am a recovering perfectionist. I am learning. Notice it is a current tense word. I am learning that perfection only resides in my mind and on the Hallmark channels. I'm becoming better able to accept work that has been my work, that has been done to the best of my ability. So I can remember many times pursuing perfection, and it always caused great anxiety. Oh, my poor husband. A lot of comparison and a lot of discontentment. When I am filled with all of those things, I cannot be present and connected with whoever is in front of me or with myself. So what do we do? First of all, just acknowledge that you're even having a feeling. It's a-okay to have a feeling. It's what you do with the feeling and how you respond that can take you down the wrong path. So just acknowledge to yourself that you're having a specific feeling, and then find an outlet for that feeling. Pray, go for a walk, turn on some music. We can always pray no matter where we are or who is around us, but you might not be able physically to leave the presence of a certain person or leave a specific location, but your mind sure can. Make your plans. You've acknowledged that you've had the feeling. So now spend some time working through that feeling. Some people write their way through feelings. Some people like to do physical activities, whatever works for you. That was a step that I continued to miss over the years. Oh yes, I acknowledged that I had a feeling, but what I did was get mad. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I would make up a speech in my mind and go over and over and over it. And I never said it to the person, but in my mind, there was a perfect delivery and an acceptance of whatever I had said. So learning to do the real work of acknowledging your feelings is very important. Regardless of the feeling, we still have so much to be grateful for, an awful lot to be grateful for. We may feel like we are in the mess of all messes, but have you ever heard the phrase, God can take your mess and make a message? There is good in every situation. Yes, sometimes you have to look at it a little deeper, but I guarantee you, it's there. You just have to find it. Having conflicting emotions. Holy moly. Family dynamics can be exhilarating, and they can also be very frustrating. While driving to Georgia, I was on cloud 9, anticipating time with my siblings and their spouses. Driving home, I was asking God, what on earth happened to my family? It was not what I was expecting. The intention of our gathering was to celebrate a couple of birthdays, but really to celebrate all the good that God had been doing in our family for the last several months, which has been an awful lot. But what I did not take into account is the mental baggage several of them would be bringing. You see, 2 of the 3 men that were there are battling cancer, and neither of them have a good prognosis. Their caretakers were there. They're exhausted physically, mentally, emotionally. Caretakers who desperately want to control the outcomes and are extraordinarily frustrated because they can't. So comparatively, I was driving to Georgia without a care in the world and living in what my husband affectionately calls Linda Land. And when the bubble popped, I was just stunned. So what did I learn from my family gathering? Here's the top 3. Think about the people that are going to be there. And I mean, really think about them. Walk in their shoes, live in their homes, in their lives, in their circumstances, and try to see what they are feeling and experiencing before you get together. Best laid plans, number 2, like celebratory gatherings, often don't go as planned, and you need to pivot, but pivot with grace. Grace covers a lot. Number 3, no family is perfect. Our heads know that, but it's very helpful when our heart is on board as well. So are you afraid certain questions may be asked when you're at your family gatherings? Mercy. This makes me think of my husband's grandmother, Grandma Mary. It was standard practice for her to ask, have you gained weight? Every time that we would get together. It was embarrassing. I know, Lauren, it was awful. But in my case, it actually was very true. And she was just bringing it to the light. And it was maddening, frustrating. It was everything. Maybe you're a single person like our middle son. And numerous people will always ask, are you ever going to get married? Maybe you're concerned someone is going to ask you about your diet, or heaven forbid, bring up politics. Drop in the chat any questions that cause you to be on pins and needles when it comes to family gatherings. We'll come back to those and see if we can help you formulate a response. My sister did make a comment about all of the diet restrictions while we were together. And I do mean politely, but let her know these weren't restrictions, they were choices. Are you grieving a loved one this year? As I mentioned before, a loved one does not have to have passed away during this calendar year for there to be grief. Those first holidays are usually the most painful, but grief and missing your loved ones will continue. It's okay to be sad. It's the perfect time to acknowledge what you miss about them. Speak it out loud if you can, and let others do the same. Talk about them and laugh about them, because keeping quiet and ignoring the existence of a person is not helpful. What you say may help someone recall a memory they'd forgotten about. Death and loss are painful. There's no doubt, it hurts. But there is healing when you hurt with other people. In my family, we light a candle for each of our parents and a nephew on the holiday table. It's reflective, it's warm, it reminds us of how special those people were. We still have all those memories of them. You'll find your way of acknowledging your loved ones. Responding rather than reacting. You know, when someone says something that just goes right through you the wrong way, the best suggestion is to grab that glass of water, not alcohol. Alcohol only makes things worse. And think while you drink. Dr. A gives us this fabulous tip in our Habits of Health book, and boy, does it work. It doesn't matter if you slowly count to 10 while you take a drink, or if you formulate a response while you take a drink. The purpose is to give you time to think. The last suggestion for navigating family dynamics is to set boundaries. When boundaries are put into place, it's not for the purpose of keeping other people out. It's for the purpose of keeping everyone safe. One of my sisters needs to realize she is a finite person. She cannot be all things to all people at all times. Telling others no is okay. Working on a middle ground, that's okay as well. That's putting a boundary around her mental and physical health. Asking for help is setting a boundary so that you don't get lost along the way. This leads to feelings of resentment on her part when she doesn't meet her own expectations. And just because a boundary is a certain way one time, doesn't mean it cannot be something different another time. We were all so hyped up about our getting together that our communication skills just went out the window, and that caused many problems. Feelings, family, and now food. Wow. It's no wonder the holidays can wreak havoc with our emotions. Since you're just coming off of Thanksgiving, some of you may be feeling like this is round 2 or round 10 of the same old, same old. So what did you learn before that you can apply this time? And although you are not the center of attention at your gatherings, you're still a part of it. Do you feel unified with the people you're sharing a meal with? And is your meal working in your favor? What I mean is, is your food providing fuel for your body, regardless of what other people have on their plates? Or is it activating triggers from past eating patterns? Is this a time when people start asking those questions about your diet? Sharing a meal with other people is biblical. So take a good look at the people. It's often referred to as breaking bread together. But you don't actually have to be literally eating bread. It is the act and art of being together over sustenance for your physical and spiritual well-being. And for those of us that believe in God, He is our ultimate sustenance. So when you take a good look at the people, take into mind, help take your mind off of food. There's 4 questions that I mentally ask myself about each person present. 1, when was the last time we spoke? 2, what did we talk about? 3, how was the conversation left? And 4, what can I ask them now? This keeps my mind so occupied that I can't even begin to think about food. If you have a large gathering and you're thinking those 4 questions about every person, you don't have enough bandwidth to think about food. It's just not possible. Take a good look at your plate. People often ask me, does your program work? I think what they're really asking is, will your program work for me? So what I challenge you to ask yourself is that very same question, looking at your plate. Are you going to work for me? You're looking at your plate. Are you going to work for me? If your desire is to physically and mentally feel good the next day, is what is on your plate going to accomplish that for you? You don't buy a gas engine car and put diesel fuel in it and expect it to work. And we are even much more complex machines and require proper fueling. So take a good look around you as well. Is someone noticeably quiet or sad? You can go to them. Be the kind of person you would like to have tending to your needs. It may be that they don't wish to talk, and that's okay. But what they will remember is that you noticed them and that you cared for them. Maybe they just want you to sit quietly with them. The point is that they were seen. So I'm purposely going back to one of the beginning slides because there is a really important word that you may have missed. It's a small word. The word and. Make room for both excitement and uneasiness, gratitude and grief, connection and loneliness, contentment and longing. It's not an either or, it's a both and we have room for both. I so badly wanted to wrap my family time up with a big, beautiful bow, and I still can. Even though there was disappointment, there was also profound joy. There were a lot of tears, but there was a ton of laughter. And even though our time was not what I thought it was going to be, what I was expecting, we were still together. And that's what families are for. It was a safe nest for people to say what they thought and how they were feeling. And that's what families do. We wade through muddy waters and we come out clean together. Before I left on my trip, as a last minute thing, I put together a game for our family to play. The bottom had fallen out and feelings were already hurt, but we hadn't played this game yet. And by golly, I was bound and determined that my family was going to play this game, whether they liked it or not. So I sincerely believe that God put the thought in my mind to have this game ready to use. What it ended up being used for was a first step in healing both new and deep wounds. It's simple to play. It requires no skill, no brain cells, and it can be tailored to absolutely any audience. So here's what you need to play this game. First thing, plastic food wrap. Some giveaway items, and this is where knowing your audience is needed. I had just adult men and women at my gathering, so I brought girly things like lip gloss, nice hand lotion, hair product. For the guys, nice body soap, hair product, salve. But then I also had gift cards like to Amazon, a restaurant, a clothing store, and I even put in a $50 bill. So those were all of my things that I put together. So you start with one item, you wrap it in the plastic wrap, nice and tight. You put several layers of cling wrap around your item, and you go in all different directions. It's not all the same. So then you add your next item to the ball that you've already started creating and wrap it tightly in a bunch of different directions. And you continue that process until all of your items are covered. I think my ball this time ended up being like a small soccer ball. It takes a lot of cling wrap, but it's fun. You also need 2 die, a timer. I used my phone, or you could use a sand timer, and reindeer antlers. These are optional, but they're fun because they're cute. So to play this game, it takes 2 people per turn. Timer is set for 30 seconds. One person has both the die. The next person sitting next to them has the antlers on, if you wish, and the big ball of cling wrap. They are going to be working on tearing into the ball while the person rolling the die, whichever happens first, the timer goes off or the person with the die rolls doubles. So all that time, somebody is trying to tear into that big ball of cling wrap. So whichever comes first, the timer goes off or somebody rolls doubles. So their turn is over. When their turn is over, they pass the antlers and the plastic ball to the next person. And then the die goes to the person that had the ball. So you're just going around the table, following each other. I was the timer the whole time and didn't play the game, but it's the timer's responsibility to keep the game moving. It probably took, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes to play our game. It just depends on how many items you put in your ball, and the ability of the people to get it unwrapped. I've played this game with my adult children, and it was hilarious. The frustration, because my Marine son, who has unbelievable arm muscles, he couldn't even tear through the plastic. It was so funny. But this game made us laugh and squeal like we were little kids. And it was fabulous therapy for us. God knew that what we were going to need before we even got together. So I hope you all make room for and this Christmas season and always. If you have any game ideas, any games that you guys like to play as groups when you're with your family, I would love to hear those too. So that's what I've got for you this morning, Lauren. Thanks for letting me share.
Absolutely. There we go. We're back to everything. Linda, that was amazing. And I love that word and. Because I think sometimes what we tend to do is we're at the one word, grief, loneliness, whatever it is, right? And then we don't pivot, and we don't add the and we don't focus on whatever's over here. We just stay there. We just stay there, like imprisoned in our minds with that, negative feeling per se, instead of pivoting and knowing it's okay. It's a thought, it's a feeling. We can feel it, because that's okay. But it's when it starts to control us and we don't pivot and we sulk and we just bury ourselves in the depth of that makes it so hard. Then we spiral and it's hard to get out of, whether that's related to family, food, relationships, whatever, with all of your things. So I think that thing, the and word, is so critical for sure. So does anyone have any things that they hear? I know in the chat we had, let's see here. I loved pivot with grace. In the chat, we have questions. When am I going to have a baby? Now, who even asks that anymore? But people do it, don't they? But I can't believe, Linda, I literally cannot believe that somebody asked. Have you been gaining weight?
Oh,
I just
that was the standard question walking into Grandma Mary's.
I would have just said, I sure have. How's it look? How's it look on me? Another question here. Do you ever just eat what you really want? Right? I'm sure we hear that. Let's see. And then I think the rest are related to the game. But yeah, I mean, does anybody else have any questions that they hear related, at gatherings a lot of times that make them a little bit uncomfortable? Or do you have any questions that you are nervous that you may hear at your next family gathering, due to the fact that you're on a plan and that you're on a health journey and that type of stuff? Does anybody have anything that they're nervous they're going to hear? And maybe we can help you navigate how you could answer that question. Gordon?
Let me unmute myself. When I had first lost my 120 pounds back 4 years ago, and I would have social gatherings or family gatherings, some people didn't even talk to me. And I'm wondering they don't notice anything. And then I go up and talk to them and there's like, oh, I thought maybe you were sick and you lost all that weight. And I said, no, I got healthy. And my, from pre-diabetic to A1C of 5.5 and off of this med and no cholesterol and all of this. It is interesting that our being healthy looks unhealthy to the world, and they think we have some kind of disease that's making us lose weight. And I say, no, it's a choice. And I like that question about, do you ever eat what you really want? If someone asked me that, I'd say, yeah, right here is what I really want to make me feel healthy, fuel my body, and not feel miserable an hour from now because I've got a sugar comatose.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, Gordon. I love that. And, I think it's funny that, and we do, right? We're human. We get afraid. We don't want to ask, and I think it's the nurse in me that when I would have come up to you and said, are you okay? Is everything okay? But sometimes, that's uncomfortable for people, but avoiding noticing or avoiding a hard question, that's hard for everybody. So, try to go out of your comfort zone. And like Linda said, all those questions she was thinking of. And I also know I've always heard the Ford, and, where it's like, what is it? Family, other occupation,
recreation,
and family,
remember what
occupation, recreation, and I don't know what the D is.
I don't remember the D.
Those are questions that we can absolutely, think about asking someone. Jerry's putting down in here frogs. Is that family, recreation, occupation, and what, Jerry? Let me see if it,
Oh, dreams.
Dreams.
There
Yes.
we go.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lauren. Yes. But those are just things that we can do, that we can bring up to other people, even if you don't know what to ask, you guys. I mean, anyone can say, how are you? Right? How are you doing? I mean, so, and like Linda said, somebody may be in a space where they don't really want to talk, but they will remember that you didn't avoid them, that you did approach them, that you did show care to them. So, always remember that for sure. I think somebody added another question, and that question was, why am I wasting my money? My health program is better. Try it. Well, and I personally think an answer to that would be, for you may feel like that, but for me, it's not a waste of my money. I feel amazing. My energy level's great. My blood sugar's stable. I don't have my aches and pains anymore. I have mind clarity, and I'm feeling very, very healthy. So to me, it's an investment of my money, but so it's not like you have to knock their program. They don't have to knock your program if it's a different program, but how does it make you feel? And I think if you can portray how I feel, how you feel on program, they would be much more apt. And again, I think that's another defensive, somebody that just doesn't have knowledge about maybe what you're doing and doesn't understand everything that you're doing and can go from there. Hey, baby.
And
Come here.
another thing, I also, whenever you're going
Come
to
here.
an event or a family get together or whatever, I wouldn't go in with I can't have that and I can't have this. I'm on a diet, because really we need to get in that mindset that we are changing our habits. We're getting healthy. And honestly, you can have anything you want. No one is there saying you can't have that, but you need to remember your goals. And, if you don't want anyone to know that you are, starting a program or on a program and you're really taking care of your own health, you could still fill your plate. You're just going to make different choices of what that looks like. And like they said, go with starting a conversation with other things that don't revolve around the food, but you can still fill your plate with the vegetables and the protein and be a part of the dinner and the get together without announcing that, oh my gosh, I can't have that, because that's the total opposite of the mindset we want. You can, it's always a choice.
Absolutely.
But which choice is going to benefit you?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have those high pressured people that you feel like are watching you all the time, every move you make, put a couple of the little things on your plate so that they think you're eating them. Get a red Solo cup so they think you're drinking them, and just don't eat them. I mean, it's not hard. I don't, but there are ways to navigate it just so that you don't feel like maybe so you don't have to deal with certain people. Right. But yeah, I think that's a great thing, Suzette. What you said is we have to get out of that scarcity mindset that, oh, what was me? I don't get to have this. I'm on a diet. It's a holiday and here I am. Because really it's always our choice. I say that all the time, but I mean, you can eat what you want. So empower yourself. Anybody else have anything that they deal with on a regular basis? Natasha put, you're too thin. You don't need to eat like that anymore. Then they wait for a response and it's uncomfortable. I mean, for that, whoops, just a second. I was looking at that one. Okay. For sure. And again, I think that's because it makes other people uncomfortable, maybe, that you're getting so healthy. Right. And you can approach that with a healthy response, like, yeah, I'm right now, I'm in a healthy BMI. It means I'm at low risk for diseases and stuff. I'm feeling so amazing. The doctor said I'm doing great, whatever it might be. Just letting them know that, you can also respond with something. I heard this on a training a while ago. And they said something about, was it, I understand how you may feel like that, because truthfully, it's been such an amazing journey that I'm actually getting used to looking at myself in the mirror, looking like this too. I'm trying to catch up with my own thoughts. So, you're kind of saying, okay, yeah, I get it that you think I look too thin, because when I look at myself, right? Because that's why we take pictures. That's why we have you guys take pictures, because you do look at yourself every day. And sometimes you don't notice, right, that your face is glowing, that the shape is changing, that because you do look at yourself every day. So you can imagine when someone who hasn't seen you for months and now you're at a party and they're seeing you, they're automatically going to say, you look too thin. I mean, because you look different to them. So different isn't always negative. But again, a positive response could be that, yeah, I can understand how you may feel like that. I feel like I'm catching up with my mind as I look in the mirror too, trying to recognize that person in the mirror, and then go on to how great you're feeling. Let's look right here into another chat. And when you are in the mindset to go for those goals, nothing will stop you, including other people's thoughts. And that is the bottom line. Thank you for that, Natasha. But the bottom line is we are responsible for our thoughts, our actions. No one else is. And so to, again, have that power, right? Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable if we have to, go against something somebody's saying or whatever. We don't have to be mean about it, because really, that's what Linda was talking about. That's reactionary. That's not, that's in our Labrador brain where we're thinking on our emotions and we're responding on our emotions, versus we're going to take that water and we're going to drink and think. And then we're going to pivot our response, because we don't want to put ourselves in that space. And I'm going to tell you, the more that you do that, the easier it gets, right? Because if I dare said, put in the chat if you're a reactionary person, probably a lot of us would put in the chat, yeah, I think most of the time I do react. So it's a learned skill, just like what you're doing with your eating plan. So, but we have to get into that mindset. We have to get into those actions to accomplish lifelong transformation. Because if you're just accomplishing following a food plan, 1/4 of our program, 1/4 of our program. It's not going to get you to lifelong transformation very quickly, because we've got to change other things, right? So, or to maintain it if we don't change other things. Any other questions or comments or, hi baby, or games that you loved playing? I'm gonna have to get the details of that game, Linda, again. Wrapping that up. And this year, oh, Melanie is the game queen. This year we're having a Christmas auction with Monopoly money. Bought several $5 gifts, got some good deals, and we'll wrap them up in fancy ways to auction off. If one receives something they may not want, others can buy it off of them. That's awesome. That is awesome. Love it. Melanie's the queen of, okay, girls, I'll be talking to you before the 21st so I can be creative with a game instead of just playing charades or something, right? So, can you say hi to everybody? Got a tired little one in my arms. All right, guys. And if there's not any other comments or questions or concerns, we will say goodbye until next Saturday. And Monday night, remember, there's the large community gathering. where they go into someone's kitchen and you learn, something, lean and green or something. Last week they did holiday mocktails. So lots of fun with that and stuff. So if you're able to jump on Monday as well, that's awesome. So otherwise, have a beautiful weekend and stay strong.
Bye, everyone.